Welcome everyone. This is Dwayne. This is the second podcast, and he is the founding leader of Pariah Paranormal, and he's the lead paranormal investigator, and also tech guy and history guru of everything. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
That's good. So I just wanted to know how did you come to get started with all this paranormal investigation stuff?
I just had an interest from a young age. Used to do some stuff with some friends of mine when I was younger.
Yeah.
But when I was very young, we used to live beside a old courthouse in Berrima.
Okay.
I remember going into the courthouse. It was about 4 years old, I think I was at the time. Went in with my parents, seen a lady standing in the room, and I wouldn't walk in. And I remember telling my mother that I didn't want to go into the room, and she's gone, "Why? There's no one there." I've gone, "There's a lady standing there, and I don't want to go in." From later on in life and growing up, what I actually seen was a vision or apparition of the last female convict that was hung in that courthouse.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just something that sort of stuck with me for my whole life, and I'm just tried to, I guess, make sense, as you would say, of it all, and hence why I've done or do what I do. It's just trying to prove why these things happen and what causes it, and if it's paranormal or if it's not, or if there's an explanation for it.
Okay. When you had that, so that was your first experience?
Yeah, that's just sort of stuck with me as a young kid.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
I would have been around about probably 4, maybe 5 years
old. Oh, so very young, and you are.
Yeah,
is it
sort
still
of etched in my brain? So it was one of them things that basically scared the hell out of me as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh. It's just one thing I'll never forget. So.
Did you have any idea that she wasn't real when you saw her?
No, to me that was a real person standing there. So.
Wow. Okay.
I was very hesitant to go in. That's why when my mum kept saying, "Stop being silly, come in," I was like, "No, there's a lady standing there, and not until she leaves."
Yeah. Like, was she blocking your way?
Yeah, in the doorway.
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. That's more understandable.
Yeah.
And did she look like she was dressed like she was part of the time?
Yeah, it was like she sort of had a pullover, like red scarfy thing on, but when I think back, it was probably period dress to, I dare say, 1940s.
Okay. So have you always? So I guess you have always believed then in the paranormal, if that's been sort of your first encounter from a young age.
I have, but I haven't. At the same time as believing in it, I'm also skeptical, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I like to approach everything as is, that it's not paranormal, and I like to look at every explanation as to what's gone on before I'll actually turn around and go, well, that's an EVP of the ghost voice, or was that somebody standing in the corner there that we didn't see that we recorded?
Yeah, I think that's a nice stance to take on things.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't know if people are so like gun-ho to just say everything is paranormal, but then to have a skeptical stance on things. So do you think everyone is capable of seeing a paranormal or experiencing it, paranormal activity?
I guess given a person's openness to it.
Yeah.
If you put a barrier up and you believe with a barrier up that nothing's going to happen, that's like when you talk to a living person. If you basically ignore them and go, well, you don't exist, I'm not going to talk to you, they're not going to communicate with you.
Okay.
If you keep an open mind going into something, we find that with what we do, if you have an open mind, it actually helps in communication. With that said, it's not going to guarantee that stuff happens, but I guess in a sense, yes, everybody can witness it. But at the same time, it can be different things. It can be from a feeling to a sensation, or it could be to something you've seen out of the corner of your eye, or physically being touched, or anything like that.
Okay. So I guess it's like, well, kind of like hypnosis, where you have to be willing in order
Yeah,
for it to work.
in-
But I wouldn't say
in a way,
it's
yeah.
hypnosis, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you have to acknowledge.
Yeah, acknowledge that there's something that's
there.
there. That, yeah.
Okay. And the services that you provide.
Yep.
So what are they exactly with your group?
We do private house investigations. So
Okay.
we'll actually go into a house that somebody claims is haunted or that they're having strange events happen. We investigate the house. We look into why stuff's happening. We try and find if there's a logical reason for it happening, like if they hear creaks or bumps in the night, it could be the house, it could be the frame of the house, a possum on the roof, or
Yeah.
anything at all. So we go in and we try and eliminate all that. We give them a report on basically what we've found or what we believe it to be. We also do house cleansings where if a person does have a premise that stuff is going on in, we've got team members who will go in and actually clear the house. It's done through smudging, and they use sage and they basically smoke the house out and bless the house.
Okay.
We also do tours, so we do proper paranormal tours, and we also do paint and paranormal tours with Sip and Dip Australia. So
I like that one.
Yeah, it's good. It's something different that's never been done before, so it was a world first when we started doing it.
Yeah.
And it's gone very big. We're basically now doing from Toowoomba all the way across to Ipswich and back into Brisbane City.
Oh wow! So do you alternate between those sites? It's a bit of a drive.
We do. Basically, we regularly do proper paranormal ghost tours around about every 6 weeks at a couple of locations we have here, and we've got Wolston Farmhouse here in Wangle, just outside of Brisbane, and then we've got Laidley Pioneer Village where we also do tours there.
Okay.
And then the Sip and Dip ones we pretty much rotate through, and we do them at different venues. So we've done the Marburg Hotel and the Soul, and we're next weekend about to do Jets Leagues Club.
Okay. I'll have to make sure I attend one of those.
Yeah.
How much do they cost? Attend one?
Depending on what it is some of them $55.
Oh yeah.
Some go up, I believe, to about $100, but that's with a meal, the tour, and painting.
Yeah.
As well.
No, that sounds good. I want to just that one thing you said, smudging.
Yep.
What can you describe that to me?
It's an ancient art that was done it's been done by different races. American Indians used to do it. They used to basically do a smoking ceremony where they'd actually smudge a person or bless a house.
Okay.
It's basically to entice good energy and to get rid of negative energy. So it's through the burning of sage, the herb, and they also use different things like lavender and that through it as well, which is basically calming.
Yeah.
And it's to drive out any negative energy.
Okay. So you're not actually smudging. It's the process is called smudging.
But the process is called smudging because it's a clump.
Yeah.
It's all dried
of
out.
sage.
Yeah.
And lavender and stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
And they basically use feathers.
Yeah.
And they go around to each corner of the house and each room, and they literally smudge it into like a shell, and they wait for a feather or a fan into it, and it will go around and apparently get rid of the bad energy from the location.
Okay. I've never actually smelt sage.
Yep.
I should go buy some and burn it. I don't know. Or is that a bad thing to do?
When it's not burned, it smells great. When you're burning it, it smells like burning paper.
Okay. I thought it might have been like a pleasant aroma or something.
To some people it is. To me, it just smells like burning paper.
Okay. Okay, maybe I won't do that. Okay. Yeah. So with I've always been interested in that because that's obviously in a lot of movies, always the sage, and it's always brought up. So do you know why they use sage?
My belief with it is because it's a herb, so it's from the earth. It's like with crystals. Crystals are generally a positive thing, which are earthborn. Basically anything that's born from the earth, and this goes back into like your American Indian beliefs.
Yeah.
They used to believe that stuff that was come from the land, as long as it was used, it was positive.
Okay.
So the reason behind it, I believe, is that the power within the herb is a positive power because it was earthborn.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So, I mean, when you've been called out to investigate someone's house,
Yep.
are you the one that burns the sage?
No,
No?
I'm pretty much all technical stuff and
Okay.
history, so I don't have a spiritual insight in me at all. I just literally point cameras and take pictures of things. So.
Okay.
But I do have a couple of psychic mediums on the team, and I've got an empath, and they're very, very heavily connected with the spiritual side of what we do. So they're my go-to people when we do a house cleansing or when we do a private investigation. I'll send the psychics in to have a walk around.
Yeah.
And they'll tell me which area they're picking stuff up in, and then we'll go set equipment and stuff up and try and see what we get through what they've told us, through what they've picked up.
So interesting. When you I'll stop focusing on the stage after this, but when you've gone to cleanse a house,
Yep.
Do you just do the sage routine, the smudging, regardless, just to sometimes?
No, it's what we tend to do is we try and investigate the premise first.
Yeah.
Before we get rid of anything, we try and find out why it's there, what it is, what it wants, and whether or not it will leave.
Okay. So when you actually do opt to use the option for the sage cleansing, do you find it effective in your experience?
In the times I've had it used by the team members that do it, the use of the sage and that, we've never got called to come back. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are there many other people in Queensland? Because I've never actually met someone that investigates paranormal stuff. So are there many other groups in Queensland?
There is.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is with the paranormal field, it's not the most friendliest or united field in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
It's almost like everybody gets jealous of everybody else. It's if you pick up a venue that, that's a good venue that people want to go to, people get jealous that you've got it, or it's a lot of people are in it for the limelight.
Oh, right. Okay.
Others are just in it for their interest as a hobby, or because they want to go out and help people.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, but
yeah, it is. But it's like with everything. But if you're doing something that you're doing better than other people always get jealous with it. It's just sort of part and parcel.
Yeah. Okay. So, would you say you're one of the largest groups? Because you have a nice following, I can see on Facebook and Instagram.
We are. We are probably one of the largest in Queensland, I believe. We are the largest group.
Okay, and maybe even Australia.
Yeah, I think in Australia we're probably the second or third largest.
Wow. Okay. Oh well, I got lucky here. That's great. What do you think led to your success? Yeah.
We're very different to other mobs. Like we do tours and we do privates at houses and stuff, but we don't charge anything.
Okay.
Any money that people do pay when they come on our tours goes back to the venue. So we basically donate all the money that's raised straight to the venue, and it goes into maintaining them to basically preserve the history for everyone to see. Because a lot of the locations we do are through the National Trust, and they're also through pioneer villages, like the Laidley one, where it's basically a full museum. It's a set up of old buildings from all around the Ipswich and Laidley area.
Yeah.
And the money we give them just helps basically maintain the property.
Right. And I know you said just before other groups are in it for the limelight. Is that just sort of for the?
Some we do. Like there's others that
you don't have to name anything. That's fine.
No, there's other groups that do it for basic entertainment purposes, and there's other groups out there that just do it strictly for money. Like that's their business, and a business runs for profit.
Yeah, I really would never have expected. Should have just asked, but that you do it for a non-profit. That's like a nice. Seems unbiased then if you're operating like that.
Yeah.
And that's good. The house calls. How often do you get called out for that? Because that's just.
Sometimes we'll get quite a few.
Mhm.
We could go a month where we've had 3 or 4 people contact us and say that I'm having this happen in my house. Can you come and help me?
Yeah.
A lot of the time we also get people reaching out from other countries, which makes it really hard because
Really?
we can't actually get in and investigate.
How do they find you?
Just basically on the internet,
Yeah.
through Facebook.
Word of mouth.
Yeah. We sort of reached out, and over the past couple of years we've done a V series, which was basically just a short video on our Facebook page that we did with other paranormal teams from all over the world.
Okay.
And that was just basically them introducing who they are and what they do.
Mhm.
And it was just pretty much us just showing our support and basically saying that we believe in being united as with what we do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just helping out other people. So through that, a lot of it went big in America because we did some stuff with some of the American TV shows you see.
Oh, okay. All right.
And yeah, through having them through our big series, they've sort of, their followers have followed us and they reach out after seeing what we do and ask for help.
Okay. Have you been on some TV shows?
Not directly on them.
Yeah.
We've done from like Ghost Loop, we've had them do some of our B series videos where they've spoken about their show and what they're doing, and just basically given I guess you'd say, shout out to us for allowing us to come onto their page. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
With the house cleansing,
Yep.
do you get the people that live there? Do you get them to evacuate when you do an investigation?
No, sometimes we keep them there because
Okay.
it's a lot of the stuff will happen to them. So
Oh, right. Yeah.
we basically keep them there to see what happens if we take them out. There might be stuff that will occur,
Mhm.
but it's not going to be the same stuff that they've reported to us because it's directly happening to them. With that said, that also gives us a way then to sort of determine if it's a undiagnosed mental health issue or if it is actually something happening in the house.
So when you are going into a house, you might keep them there. But have you ever encountered someone just faking it? I imagine it would be such an effort, really, to like reach out.
I have gone out to places where we've investigated and we've found that it was nothing. It was actually the person's mental health state.
Oh, okay.
And that does make it hard when you've got to go back to them and say, I don't think there's anything paranormal occurring, but you may need to go speak to somebody.
Yeah. So, do you address them as a group when it's like that? You just
generally, I'll pretty much do it. Like if
Yeah,
I've got to go back to somebody and say that this is it, I'm probably the most direct person in the group. I don't mind letting the person know that yes, we've found nothing, and you might want to seek help with. Yeah.
I can imagine it. That's a good thing as well to find out because then you know it's we can differentiate between one or the other, and then you can actually go and get the right sort of help.
Yep.
That's that's important. Do you think does that happen often?
Not too often. Like it's out of all the ones I've done, there's probably one that stands out to me that was definitely non-paranormal at all.
Is it can you like tell me one of the most intense encounters you've had when you've gone to a house to investigate?
We did do a private investigation at a well-known business in Ipswich.
Okay.
In that investigation, the probably weirdest thing and most intense that happened was we were using a structured light sensor camera, which is basically it's a Kinect camera, so it'll map unstable energy and it'll show the energy as a stick figure. That's like what they use on the Xbox Kinect, like the sensors on that, but it'll actually map unstable energy, so it'll show you basically a spirit.
Okay.
We had some footage that I believe it's still on our Facebook page, but it's a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We're taping me standing inside this business. The SLS camera is recording me, and it's recording a smaller child size, I should say, apparition beside me. So it's like a skeletal figure that's standing beside me. During that recording, you can see my shirt actually being tucked. Nothing there, so my shirt's actually moving like a child was pulling on it to get my attention.
Did you notice that when it was happening?
I could feel it at first, and then
Yeah.
I've sort of looked and I've said to the team member that was there, "Can you see my shirt moving?" And they've gone, "Yes, I can," and I'm recording it. So it was basically the full tug on the side, but enough for me to feel it and enough for it to see who's in and out.
Yeah. That's so bizarre.
It was one of them things where I sort of stood there then and I'm thinking, is there an air conditioning vent here, or is there one behind me? But everything in the business was actually turned off, so it was pitch black. There was a couple of freezers on in the background.
Oh, wait.
What the business was, but nothing that could cause my shirt to move.
So you said it was pitch black. So do you have night vision then? Is that what you're using?
At that point when we were recording, the camera that we were using actually shows everything. So it's got like millions of little infrared and laser lights that come through it. But we did actually have enough light, to actually see it.
Oh, okay, right. So just like pretty low light.
All the lights are off in the premises,
Oh,
but
right,
you had a bit of low light
natural light
coming
from
through
outside.
from outside, which I probably would have made more sense instead of me saying pitch black.
No.
But
I'm just curious because I don't know if that changes the type of devices you're using.
Oh, we do actually use night vision cameras and stuff as well. So
Yeah, I just want to touch on that for a second when it was like interacting with you.
Yep.
Because you've experienced a few things.
Yep.
Are you still skeptical? Because I know you said like the air conditioner. Or it was just.
I am up to the point where you just can't come up with a normal explanation as to what's happened.
Yeah.
I always try and look at why it's happening or what could be affecting it to happen in the environment. And then when I get to the point where there's no logical explanation at all as to why this is occurring, that's basically when I just have to admit that it's paranormal. So.
Right. I mean, I can't really see another logical explanation for why.
No, sometimes you can't. Yeah.
I mean, that's. Does it change like when you do experience something that you can't explain?
Yep.
I mean, if I did, I'd be probably obsessed with it for a little bit.
Yep.
Just trying to. Well, I guess that's what's led to you.
Yeah, it is.
It's
it becomes fun. It does. It becomes. I wouldn't say obsessive, but it does really become very interesting to the point where you go out and you try and recreate the exact thing over and over and over just to prove that nothing else could do it.
Yeah. So like really taking a methodical, almost trying to be scientific about the approach.
Yeah.
Making it repeatable.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean that would be the only thing that could sort of prove to me.
Yeah.
It's something that's repeatable, but as hard as it seems to be to capture these sort of encounters. Is repeatability something that can be done?
Sometimes it can be like we use different styles of communication. Like we use everything from your K2 meters, which register your electromagnetic fields. So we'll actually use them, and they'll light up and indicate, and we'll actually prompt and say, if there is someone here communicating with us, could you light these lights up from green, orange, red, and then you'll see on the K2 meter it'll actually go green, orange, red, and then we'll say, could you go red, orange, green, and then it'll go backwards and do it for us.
That's crazy.
And then we'll actually ask if it could repeat it again, and we'll chuck in like, could you go green, red, and it'll go green, red.
Well, I mean, if you, it seems a little bit too consistent for it to just be
just
random if you're doing stuff like that. Let alone just getting any sort of reading from those meters.
And some buildings will give a reading off, like if you're sitting underneath a light, or if you've got a mobile phone and you've got your phone turned on to normal, it'll actually interfere with some of the equipment we use.
Okay.
if you set a mobile phone beside a K2 meter, it'll light up and it'll be constantly lit up, and all the lights on it will indicate that there's something there because it's picking up on the electromagnetic fields around the phone.
Yeah.
And same with lights. If you get too close to that, it'll pick up and microwaves and stuff like that as well. But when you've got everything in a building turned off, and you're asking, the direct response is, can you light this up to a specific colour, and it does it, and then reverses it as well. That's pretty awesome thing when it occurs.
So maybe we'll get into the meters. I mean, the equipment they actually use.
Yep.
Yeah. If you could just sort of, what do you think the most necessary tool would be if a group were wanting to start off?
Yep. To me, my most necessary bit of equipment would be, I'd definitely say, a voice recorder, so you can actually get an electric voice phenomenon. Any recorder will do it. These days, mobile phones have got great recorders on. You can use anything from them to a dictaphone right through to high technical microphones that you use in recording studios. But to basically start to get into it is any sort of recording device, and basically an EMF meter and a video camera.
Okay. So what is electromagnetic field as EMF?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm just checking for anyone that's watching.
The K2 meters that we use, or that you hear people refer to as EMF meters, they'll just basically pick up a electromagnetic field. So they'll basically register when there's a change in the magnetic field in the environment. It's believed that spirits manipulate this. There's a belief that when you do get communication or a spike on it, that's a spirit in your presence. With this equipment, it's one of the main things we use when we actually go to do an investigation, or the first time we go through a house, we actually do what we call a sweep.
Okay.
And we go through and look for any electrical interference, or if there's a certain area that's got high EMF in it. It could be like a natural EMF that's coming from overhead power lines, or could be coming from a fuse box in a house that's very close to a wall, so it'll give a false reading on it. So we basically note down with this equipment as to what we're getting as a false reading, and then we know we don't go into this corner or we don't go into that hallway, because that's going to give us a false reading.
Okay. Do you is there like a simple, like, could you just shut off the main power to the house?
You can, but even when you've got your main power shut off, you're still going to have, if you had an interference, you're still going to have it coming through into the wall. So the EMF meters are specifically designed to pick up electrical interference.
Okay. That's I guess that makes it a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
But so I guess, would that be the most expensive tool?
They're probably the cheapest.
The EMF meters. Okay, I guess like every maybe tradie needs them when they're. Who exactly uses EMF meters?
Electricians use them a lot. They use them to read power faults and stuff. They're also used to nuclear technicians. They actually use them to pick up on whether or not there's leaks in nuclear energy through radiation plants and stuff like that.
Okay.
A lot of it is also for basically microwave frequencies. So people will actually use an EMF to see how much interference is in their house, because there's the belief that that electromagnetic fields cause cancer or brain tumours, all sorts of belief with them. It's like with the mobile phones, that the more you use it, the more chance you've got of developing cancer.
Yeah.
So you actually get people that will buy them and walk around their house to see where they've got high areas of EMF.
Yeah, don't put your head there.
Yeah, which I guess is sort of no weirder than what it is when we walk around with them and see if there's a ghost in the house. So,
of course. Do you know how? I've always been curious. Like, it seems like a valid as any other device to use when you're searching for paranormal activity. But the idea of the EMF, was that just a device that people had back then, and they decided, might give us something?
I believe it was just a device that was developed to pick the interference in the normal electromagnetic energy in the air,
Mm-hmm.
because everywhere basically there is small amounts of EMF, and through people doing ghost hunting and through the development over the years, they've realised, well, hang on, this is picking up stuff that it shouldn't be picking up, and this is responding to me asking it to light up a certain colour or for it to stop lighting up a certain colour. So they've just basically realised that it's a tool they can use for communication.
Okay, I see. Do you know when it was it? When was it first used?
The EMF meters, I believe, probably early 90s, but don't quote me because I could be wrong.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious.
The actual I guess art of paranormal investigation's been going since basically the 4th century, when people first picked up a pendulum and started using it for communication. So it's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Oh, okay. So that was the first tool used, a pendulum.
Pendulums were some of the first communication tools that we used in communication with spirits.
Wow.
And then over the years we've had developments in science, and then you've had your Frank's box, or your spirit box, which was developed, I believe, back in 1930s, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Again, sorry, I don't know
No,
the exact
that's
date,
fine.
but it was a good 100 years ago. There were still experiments going on in communication, and then these day and ages we've come right through in developments where there's actually a device called a millimeter, which is like similar to a K2 meter, but it's like a digital display on it, so it'll give you a digital reading of what the EMF is, and it'll also do temperature, and it'll also do proximity. So if something come up and touched it, it'll actually alarm and let you know what's there and that something's going off. And that was actually developed and tested in a lab, so it's actually been tested by scientists, and is one of the only bits of paranormal equipment that even had scientists in the lab stumped as to why it does what it does.
Do they know what? When like something that you said comes to, like, it interacts with it, it touches it. Do they know like what phenomena the sensor is meant to read?
Yeah, it's basically picking up on, like with the millimeter, it's picking up on changes in the temperature and the EMF in the environment. So it's basically saying that something's come up that's cold, that's not the same as the outside temperature, and the EMF has completely changed. So it's not normal anymore. It's gone to a higher level of electromagnetic field than what was there previously to it. So it's basically just registering the air in front of it and going, well, this is like a person coming up and putting their hand on top of it. So if you, with some of the equipment that we use, especially with the proxy sensors, if you come up and put your hand on it, it'll indicate that it'll light up and it'll go off, because you'll put your basic static of your body, which your electromagnetic field, onto it, and you've changed the temperature of the object, so you've made it warmer.
Okay.
So what we find is if a spirit's touching it, the temperature will drop. Most of the time will drop. Sometimes if it's a strong spirit, the temperature could spike and go up. We've had a very strange reading of temperature where in the space of 3 minutes on a tour, we've had the temperature go from minus 20.1 degrees to 78 degrees on a millimetre. And I mean, that's something that you'd seriously notice. And we're in a room full of guests in an old church, and we had that witnessed by 15 people, and we just could not explain that.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Do you ever think it could just be a malfunction of it?
It could be, but the equipment that we use is basically maintained. Every time we go to do a tour, it's got fresh batteries in it, and it operates on battery power. Most of them, the devices these days, you plug into a laptop and you can download your readings on it, and they'll also tell you if there's a fault on it.
Oh, right. Okay.
For the equipment to malfunction, basically we know about it when it's happening. If it did malfunction, it would be malfunctioning all the time. When we turn most of the stuff on, it does a self-test on it. So it'll basically self-test itself, give you a reading, and then reset. And then that's right to use.
Okay. So there's like a little calibration type
Yeah,
of thing?
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we use a variety of different stuff. So it's all the stuff we use has got different functions and it's got different tests that it runs on itself and that. I mean, we even use FLIR cameras, which is your infrared heat cameras. These are used by plumbers to find leaks in buildings.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
all right. So it'll just be cold. I'll see it.
Yep, it'll tell you cold, or it'll tell you hot, and it'll actually come up in the actual colour grid, and it'll actually show you. What we use these for is it'll actually show you an apparition. So basically, it'll show you a spirit. It'll also show you if you were inside a building and somebody's walked across the floor, it'll leave a heat signature on it, and it'll actually show you footsteps. And some of the places we do, we've taken it in and we've had people sitting on a bed, and then they've felt something come and sit beside them. They've put the thermal camera there and looked, and there's been a heat signature beside them on the bed where no one was sat.
Okay, a cold, or just some sort of...
Just an actual heat signature to say that something has actually made contact with it and then got up and left.
Wow. Okay. Have you seen that stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that was from like another group or something, but
no,
that's some stuff that
in ours, but we use this equipment all the time. So we're forever. We just did a tour last weekend at Goodness Cemetery.
Okay.
During the tour, I've actually wandered off with the FLIR camera, and I still haven't gone back through the footage yet because I've had a busy week. But as I was looking up towards the crematorium, I could see two shapes on the FLIR camera, and they were both moving. There was a tree which was registering the heat of the tree, and from the side of it, it looked like something popping out, popping back in, and then it registered onto another figure that looked like it was moving as well on the side.
And are they like significant temperature changes? Because I mean, like, I've never used one.
For me, I like it to be significant. If it's 1 or 2 degrees, that's explainable. You can walk into a building and you can have the front of the building be anywhere to 3 to 4 degrees hotter than what the back of the building is going to be. But when you start getting drops in temperature up near the 8 to 10 degree mark, it's a pretty significant drop in temperature.
Okay. So that's the other piece of equipment that you were talking about. Hey, so it was like the Xbox.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's basically a Kinect camera, which is off the Xbox.
Is it literally from the Xbox?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The concept behind them were Microsoft started getting all these complaints when they brought
what
the
really
Kinect camera out. Yep. They had people actually complaining to them, saying that your camera is broken, it's picking stuff up in the room, and there's nobody there. So it's saying that I'm standing in front of it, but I'm not. A gentleman by the name of Bill Chappell, he's an inventor of paranormal equipment, and he's an inventor of different things. He lives in America, and he done a study into it and found what it was actually doing was mapping unstable energy, and found that the technology in the Kinect camera was actually allowing it to map spirits. And Microsoft basically discovered the same thing, that it's picking stuff up because there's stuff there that you just can't see with your own eyes.
It's so because I've never even used the Xbox Kinect camera, so it's just designed to put pinpoints on major
its whole job is basically to try and find a body form. So the Kinect camera is simply it'll map a room within a certain amount to say around about 5 meters out in front of you, and its whole job is a whole heap of little pinhead lasers and infrared lights, and it's to find an object, so as to see if there's an object that looks like a person and to show that on camera.
Okay. And like, I mean, you don't, like, sometimes when people just hold up a Snapchat filter and it appears something, you don't think it could just be the computer algorithm trying to pick up on things?
It was heavily tested.
They
do. The downside with this bit of equipment, it does give false reading, because its whole job is to say that this is a human figure. So if you went into a room and there's a chair, it'll pick a chair up and it'll start showing you a skeletal figure on a chair because it's trying to say that that's a person. It's when you don't have any interference and you're standing somewhere where there is no other objects in a room and you get a stick figure on it, and you basically say to it, could you put your right hand up in the air and wave at me? And then the figure in front of you on the camera puts its right hand up in the air and waves at you.
Well, that's something else. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bit different.
Yeah, that's where to us, that's paranormal. That's occurring there, and there's nothing else that can pick up on. Just to see a figure on it could be a false mapping, but we ask for direct responses. So everything we do, we ask for basically an intelligent response to it. So if we do pick something up and we go, well, there's a skeletal figure here, and this is what we tell people on our tours, that doesn't mean that's a ghost. That could be picking up on a hat stand and saying that the hat stand looks like a person, so that's a person.
So, is that one of the staple instruments like you always use?
We do because people like to use it. My favourite bit of gear is probably the millimeter because it's, as I was saying before, was basically taken into a lab and it was tested, and they can't explain why the millimeter does what it does. When it was actually invented, it was invented for the sole purpose of communicating with deceased. The gentleman that invented it in America lost his daughter. His daughter's name was Melissa, hence why it's called a millimeter. The model number on the millimeter is actually her date of birth. So it was basically fully named after his deceased daughter, and he built it and got the communication with her. And that's when it was tested in a lab, and they just couldn't explain why it was doing what it was doing.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
So that's one of the staple instruments. Are there any other ones? I know that if people have seen what's that movie? I forget. Where they have like the cameras and they flash quickly, Insidious.
Yep.
I don't know if you. I don't want to. I'm not trying to taint it with like movies, but I just mean like other instruments that I've seen.
Yeah,
where
we use all sorts of different things. We use night vision cameras. Your standard CCTV cameras that people hook up in their shops. They've got infrared on them. Infrared's good for picking up stuff that we can't see at night. Only downside to that is a dust particle, and it'll come up in infrared as a round ball. People mistake dust for orbs all the time. In the paranormal world, orbs are just something that are heavily debated all the time. It can be anything from a bug to dust. We use night vision cameras to basically see if we can to see figures. Sometimes you're lucky enough to actually pick up basically an apparition or a moving object on camera. There's been documented cases which are all over the internet where people in businesses have caught stools being picked up in the air and thrown across an empty bar and all sorts of different things. But
That's bizarre.
It is. It's some of the stuff you actually see on them is very strange, but at the same time, unless, and my way of looking at it, unless you're there and you know what happened leading up to it or what's happened before it, it is a little bit hard to say it's paranormal. People do argue and say that no, it's not. It could be set up, but yeah, that's a hard thing. I mean, why go through all the bother of setting something up like that to have people pull it apart and go, well, no, this is fake.
Yeah, of course. Are there any instruments that you'd like to get that you're currently working towards?
At the moment we're actually waiting to get a Oculus, which is a device that uses it's an instrument that's loaded up with basically an electronic dictionary, and spirits can actually manipulate the device to talk through it. So you ask a question and you get a verbal answer.
Oh, that's insane. But so was it one of these sort of key figures that invented this?
Yeah, but again, this was invented by a firm called Digital Dowsing. They're an American company. They basically invent a lot of equipment, which you see on the TV show Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans in it.
Okay.
So it's pretty much the gentleman Bill Chappell develops gear for them. That TV show shows it all off, and it's through shows like that where people see it and we end up purchasing it, and they get to use all that on our tours and investigations.
Okay. Do you think it's a little bit biased though? Because like there's obviously a financial incentive to make these things.
It is, but a lot of the equipment with the way it's developed and how they're developed, that's what makes it costly. It's designed for a specific purpose, so it's not like buying a torch where you've just got a basic circuit board in it. Some of the equipment we use, like a REM pod, for argument's sake, is a $400 bit of equipment. A REM pod's got around about 15 different things in it that sense different changes in the air, temperature, static field, all sorts of different things. It's the components that's got into it to actually build it, and there's not much profit on top of what it is. It's the whole paranormal equipment is basically the people that make it. They're not the winners. They don't know what's from it. But it is expensive, but it's getting the components that are in it and what it does.
Yeah, I can't imagine you could. Yeah, you're not a millionaire, but even you have such a niche market. If you're trying to push these products, like $400 isn't cheap.
No.
So you're trying to push an expensive thing to a very small clientele, and even if someone like me or someone else that is curious, they would never consider spending $400. So but yeah, the Ovilus, I'm curious because of like how it interacts, and then it can actually pick a word. Would it also be? It would have to be random, like if there was,
So sometimes, and this again is where it comes into deciphering what's real and what isn't real. If you ask a direct question, for argument's sake, if you said, "What is your name?" and you got Rob over it, that's a response. It's giving you a name. That could be a fluke. It could be a 1 in a million thing that it's answered the direct question you asked. If you turned around and said, "Could you tell me anything about the building we're in?" and say you were sitting in a church and come across and said church, that's a pretty significant thing. It's not a random word that's going to come through too often in a generated alphabet. If you then ask the question, "What is my name?" and it gave you the direct response as to what your name is, again, that's a pretty slim chance that it's going to do it.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff we use and some of the other stuff we use that are similar to basically to the Ovilus, like we use the Spirit Box, which will sweep through radio frequency in reverse, but it does it at a rate of 200 stations per millisecond. So,
that's so quick.
Yeah, it's basically scanning.
That's ridiculous.
Scanning backwards.
That's not okay. Because sorry to interrupt, but like when I've seen them use, I'm like, oh, is it like half a second? So you get a word, but 200. That's insane.
Yeah, it's got the sweep with that, and when we use them, it's got white noise coming through it as well. So it's in reverse, which yes, you will get words off a radio station on it.
Yeah.
But when you start getting language come through, like the F word and the C word, they're going to hear that in a radio station in Australia.
No. There wouldn't be a radio station for long.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, I can see. So when you prompt it with questions,
you get a direct response. That's when we take into consideration that this is a direct response to the question I asked.
Yeah.
If you turned it on and it just started randomly like nonsense words, that's when you'd be like, well, I'm not even asking a question and this thing's spitting words out. So that's a bit.
Yeah, it's a bit odd. The Ovilus, when you how much is it?
To get it basically in Australia to pay shipping and costs from America, you're looking at around about 720 Australian dollars.
Oh, geez, okay. And I'm sort of like curious because like with something like that, you'd probably want it to be, you want it to operate by itself almost in a vacuum so that it's not actually responding to a microphone. Is that how it operates? It doesn't have like a built-in algorithm. It's just
No, there's no algorithm built into it. It's a word bank that's placed into a device with a screen on it, and basically it's got an external speaker, two aerials, and the responses are manipulated through what's communicating through it. Some of the other functions it's got on it, it's got like a touchpad where you could say to a spirit, if you put it on the draw mode, could you draw me a picture of a cat? You might get a picture of a cat that'll come up onto it, but this device it's got no voice recognition, so it won't, if you talk to it and say, could you bring up the word it, it's not going to bring it up on the screen for you. So it's manipulated to give you the response, but you can't prompt a response from it. So you can ask it a question and it'll give you an answer, but there's no way of you prompting it to give you the answer that's coming in.
okay. That's sort of the key thing I wanted to get at. That's sort of bizarre. And I guess the radio antennas, is that picking up radio frequencies at all, or is it like?
No, the antennas on these they're basically sensors, so it's sensing the environment. It's basically giving a means for a spirit to come through and communicate. So it's allowing them to use EMF and the word bank to give you a response. So it's basically, if you think as an electronic translator like you'd use overseas, it's basically giving you a whole heap of words in it. And if you look at it in the way of, if you're in a foreign country and somebody's talking to you and you're thinking, hang on, how do I communicate back? You look for a word to go, hello. And that's what a spirit's doing with the obulus. It's looking for a word to communicate back to the question that you just asked it. So,
I'm sort of wondering with when you use is it the radio scanner? What is that called?
It's the one we use, which is that scans radio frequencies, called an SB7 spirit box.
Okay.
There's a couple of variations of that we use. There's an SB7, an SB11, there's a S box, or some people use a hacked radio, which will just keep scanning backwards in frequency.
Okay.
Out of the whole lot that's on the market, I find the SB7 or the spirit box to be my favourite.
Mm-hmm.
Others on the team prefer the SB11 because you can scan AM and FM frequency at the same time on that, and it's a big unit. The SB7's only a little box basically, and we just plug an external speaker into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that all it's made to do? Is that you turn it on and then it just starts going like 200 millisecond?
No, you can program the rate. So you can program the speed rate of it.
Yeah.
You can program whether it goes forwards or backwards, or you can use it as a handheld radio. So you can listen to your favourite station on it.
Yeah. Okay. I've sort of sorry, you're going to say something?
The concept behind them is the same concept that the Frank's box was invented for. So it basically gives spirits the ability to communicate through white noise. It's like in the movie Poltergeist, where you see the TV and that's all white noise on the TV and the communication. It's the theory is there. They believe that the spirit realm can communicate through white noise. We're giving them the ability to have a voice. That's just they need to manipulate that device to be able to come through and communicate.
Okay. I don't know. I just sort of always wondered, like, when you do use one of those spirit boxes, or any device like a hacked thing that scans through the radio. I don't know if anyone's done this, but say if you had someone at a location that you want to test, and you had someone else in just a location which anywhere besides that place, and if you just both started them at the same time, has that ever been tested to see if it just picks up like the same sweep?
The same sweep. We do something a little bit different, but what we do is actually use noise cancelling headphones. We actually put them on people and we blindfold them. We'll take them into an area, we'll sit them in the area, we'll walk out and we'll ask questions and we'll ask them to tell us what response they're getting on it. We get responses to the questions we're asking and we test the theory that they can't hear us. Like we'll literally put headphones on them and we'll speak to them and we'll actually put blindfolds on them and try and see if they can see us through the blindfolds.
Okay.
And we actually do get the response to the questions we've asked and they can't hear anything we're saying at all.
Okay. Well, that's
So it's similar to what you said, but now you've actually said that, you've given me a great idea for next time we investigate.
That's interesting. But I really like this approach. You're not like, you don't just disclude it and say, oh, it can't happen.
But we do. Well, sorry. With that said, at some of the locations we do run multiple spirit boxes in the location. So, Walston Farmhouse, I'll actually be down in the basement and I'll use a spirit box where one of the other team will be up in the kitchen and they'll be using a spirit box. So I'll be talking away and getting a response. They'll be talking away and getting a response and asking different questions, but what they get is a female voice while I'm getting an Indigenous male voice.
Okay, that's
so it's sort of that's saying exactly what you did, or what you were saying, sorry, about the theory of using in the different the sea. But we've never actually physically done the test, so that might be a good one. But
I just think it would be awfully difficult to sync them up.
It would
because if you're talking about milliseconds. But that's maybe something that. Certainly like the blindfolding and the headphone thing. It's not like going to good lengths to try and cancel other things out.
And our theory behind that too is once you take away one of your senses, you enhance another. So by taking away the ability to see, you increase the ability to hear.
That's
when you take away the ability to hear and see, you're increasing other stuff as well. Through blindfolding and using the noise cancelling headphones, what we're doing is actually giving the person the ability to focus on the noise that they're hearing in their ear, so they can hear clearer as to what's coming through. So it's basically like giving a spirit a megaphone and saying, "Hey, can you answer this question for me?"
That's so straightforward, but I would never have expected that. I guess maybe I mean, I don't know how many devices there are. I'm sure
there's hundreds of stuff out there. There's we use everything from K2 meters to mel meters to what we call a periscope, which is a device that's a black square and it's got clear rods. Each rod's got a different coloured light in it. Spirits will manipulate them to actually give you an indication of where they're standing, so it'll light it up or it'll touch it and it'll make every single rod on the periscope light up a different colour.
Okay.
So it's they're a good bit of equipment. They work on different to EMF. These actually work on static electricity, so it's basically something that's touched it with static. When we first brought this bit of gear, I took him on an investigation and I was so excited because I'd seen it on TV shows and I thought, this is going to be great, look at all these responses. I sat there for 6.5 hours and nothing happened with it, and I thought, what a waste of $300. When it did actually work, it was one of the coolest things I've seen so far. It was literally lit up, stopped halfway, went back down, lit up all the way, and then I said, could you light it up from left to right, right to left, and that did it.
Okay.
So they're another good bit of gear, but some of the other stuff we use too is just simply a $2 motion sensor cat toy.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you press a button, and if you shake it, it lights up.
Okay.
We sit them down in different spots around a room, and we'll actually say, if there's anyone here, could you light that bulb up for me? And the bulb will actually light up. For you to get that to light up, you either have to bang the area it's on, you have to walk across the floor or pick it up and physically shake it to get it to light up. So they're a really good bit of investigation gear, and it's the cheapest thing I've ever
bought. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I guess just quickly, the pendulum thing, how would they interact with it? Would they just let it hang and see if it moved?
Pendulums are they're another thing they've been around for hundreds of years. They're a heavily debated thing, like a Ouija board. People think that with a pendulum, it's your neuromotor skills doing it that's moving it. People think that it's your concentration level that's making it move to the letters you want it to move to. What we like to do is we'll actually get a person to sit there and hang on to a pendulum, but we won't get them to ask questions. We'll ask the questions for them, and we'll see what responses come through. We've had people come on our tours that we don't know a thing about them. They're just a guest that's paid to come. They've used a pendulum, and we've actually said, if there's anyone here, could you spell your name out? And it's spelled out their deceased relative's first name.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's...
and that's not anything that we could get them to do, or that they're going to instantly think, oh, hang on, my Uncle Bill died 20 years ago, so I might spell his name out. So, yeah. Okay. But they're a very different thing. The first time I used it, I just thought, this is no good. They never used to do anything for me. And I couldn't even get them to move. I literally sat there one day with one for about 40 minutes, and I thought, why is it you see all these other people that can use this and I can't? Then one day it just worked for me, and I thought, okay, this is very strange, because you can literally feel the shaking and you can feel it spinning, and it's quite odd.
Yeah, I don't know what pendulums are made of.
Most of them are crystals.
Okay.
Yeah,
so usually non-magnetic.
No, there's not magnetic at all.
Right.
Some of the ones we use is like a chakra crystal, so it's got all your different coloured chakra crystals in it. We use rose quartz ones. We use clear quartz. We've got a metal one, which is an Egyptian Isis one. It's a bigger one that apparently connects to the spirit world better than what other pendulums do. Again, this is all stuff outside of my scope. Our psychics on the team generally do all this sort of stuff, and the Ouija boards and things like that.
Okay.
To me, I don't know why the pendulums do what they do. The one thing I like about them, and that I've seen done, is how people set them up on a stand, and they actually put a plate of sand below it, and they'll ask questions and watch it move and write.
Oh, so it's actually like sitting just above the sand?
Just above the sand.
Oh, okay.
And they'll actually write answers. So
that's... Oh, I think I'll have to see it to believe it, but I mean, that's...
There's all sorts of different uses for them. Like some people will use them to basically find directions. It'll ask a question to say, could you show me where the grave of Joe Bloggs is at, and if you're in a cemetery, and it'll swing and point towards it and take you over to it.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're a strange tool.
Yeah, that's bizarre. I don't want to spend too long on equipment. I mean, I could probably go on forever, but
no, that's
I'll just keep asking. But I think...
what I can actually do is I can lay all of our stuff out and just take snapshots and send it through to you.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I can just put it on the screen now if whoever's watching. Sounds good. Okay, so have all this equipment. You've been doing it for a while. Is there... I know I asked earlier about one of the most, I don't know, call it haunted or just active house investigations that you went to.
Yep.
But besides that, what's the most active place in Australia you've been to?
The most active that I've been to, I would have to say, was probably Gumunji Cemetery.
Gumunji?
Yeah.
Whereabouts is that?
Just outside of Toowoomba.
A bit far.
Further west?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
okay.
I went up there. I've investigated a small cemetery there. In that cemetery, it was heavily German population in it. There was a few of us working there. I think there was 6 of us. There was members from another paranormal team they were with us as well. There were some friends of ours. We literally heard verbal screams,
Wow.
audible, without any equipment, screaming out in the middle of nowhere. The cemetery's down a dirt road for about, I think it was 10 k's. No houses around it, nothing. And there was full screams out there. There was footsteps, shoving. I literally was shoved when I was standing in front of the grave, which was very strange to me. I hadn't experienced a physical push of something that wasn't there in front of me.
Like significant?
Significant enough for me to actually stumble backwards, and for one of the team members to ask me if I was all right, and I'm like, someone just pushed me. Yeah. But it was an extremely active place. There was actually a scream that we all heard with "get out," and that was the words that come across that everyone of us heard with our own ears.
Could you record any of it?
Bits and pieces we did.
Yeah.
When we were doing it, it was just before we were actually going on a tour from another mob of ours, so another friends of ours, that do tours up at Toowoomba.
Yeah.
And it was filling in time before we went out to their tour. So we only had basic stuff there with us. We took a few pictures, and I believe the other team that was with us actually took some recordings as well. I don't think they put them up onto their page.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was probably about 2.5 years ago.
Okay. But still, that's a significant experience. I mean,
It is, yeah.
And yeah, I guess it's tied to World War. That cemetery, is it, or is it?
Just an old cemetery. I believe it was 1880s when the cemetery was formed out there. So, but that's right through. So there is graves out there for soldiers that fought in World War II and World War I.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just very very active location. But yeah, that's probably the most active I've been to.
Okay.
My favourite location, I'd probably have to say, would be a toss-up between Laidley Pioneer Village and Alston Farmhouse.
Okay. So wait, you're saying favourite versus most active?
Yeah.
Why wasn't it your favourite? Was it too much, or was it just?
No. My 2 favourite locations, I actually, as strange as it sounds, I asked for verbally. My name's actually gets said on the spirit box, and they actually ask for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one location that we do out at Laidley, there's a individual in an old morgue that will actually ask for me personally, and he'll actually say, "Where's Dwayne?" and it'll come across the spirit box. This same individual will get on there and then swear at me, but then say, "I love you." So
Is it conflicted?
It's very, very interesting. Walston Farmhouse, there's a Indigenous trooper there that actually asked for me by name, and I'll be downstairs using a spirit box and talking to him, and you'll actually hear his Indigenous accent, and you'll hear him say my name, and he'll say, "Hello, Dwayne," and I'll actually say, "Who am I talking to?" and he'll actually turn around and go, "Yemi." This gets witnessed all the time by people on our tours. At the same time, when he's bored talking to me downstairs, some of our team will be upstairs in the kitchen of the old farmhouse. He'll go up there and go, "Where's Dwayne?" and it'll actually come through on their spirit box. So
yeah, to be so
very
consistent.
interesting. Yep.
Yeah. Do you ever it just doesn't seem logical that someone would tamper with a device.
Yep.
To make it say Dwayne. I don't know.
No, it's not. It's not a common name that you hear too often, especially in Australia.
And if it's specific to that location, then that's a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean at the same time, with this same location, we've even put different team members down into the basement area.
Yeah.
And they won't get the communication. I'll go down there and I'll have K2 meters lighting up.
Yeah.
We use an old 18th century whiskey bottle that I'll actually sit down and I'll put a motion sensor on top of it, one of the cat balls.
Yeah.
I'll actually sit it down on a table and there'll be no one near it, and I'll actually say that, Yemi, can you have a drink from the whiskey bottle? And the light will light up on top of it. So it's quite good. That's
crazy. So you've been over to the States?
No.
Oh, sorry. I thought in the beginning you might have said something.
No,
Okay.
no, we've just done a lot of stuff with our page with teams from the States. Like
Okay.
we're very into, I guess you'd call it para-unity. So we do a lot of stuff with a lot of different teams, and we like to basically publicise stuff for people. Like we'll bring groups onto our page and we'll do a video of them introducing themselves and saying who they are and what they do, and then we'll tag all their pages and we'll put them up on ours as part of a B series that we do.
Yeah.
We also let other groups will go in and they'll investigate locations we do. Like, to us, it's fun. It's a hobby for us. Like, we don't mind when another group comes in and investigates. Unfortunately, in the paranormal field, you'll get some people that will go, no, that's my location. How dare anyone go into it? It's a bit different, but yeah.
I think unless you own the property, then you don't really
Exactly,
get to bags it. Like,
yeah. But I mean, we're very big on working in with a lot of people. Like, we've got I've got some good friends that run Southeast Paranormal up at Toowoomba.
Okay.
We do a lot of stuff with them. They come to our tours, we go to their tours. We've got a correspondent that we call our southern correspondent, which is Emma.
Mm-hmm.
She actually lives down in Newcastle, and
Okay.
she's my go-to person for evidence. Like, I'll send pictures through to her if I've got something on it and say, hey, Em, what do you think of this? Do you think this is something we've caught? Is it evidence? Or she'll go, no, Dwayne, you're an idiot, it's a bug.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we do reach out a lot. Like, we've done private tours with Newcastle Ghost Tours and Oz Paratech. We've actually travelled to Sydney a year ago to a paranormal convention down at the old Parramatta Jail, where there was different teams from all across Australia that come to it and get together and network, and you can buy equipment and stuff as well. So,
oh wow. Okay.
yeah.
So, are you the only person in your family that really sort of gets into this stuff?
My wife.
Yeah. You don't have to like say any names. I'm just curious.
No,
like,
my wife does it with me. She's
Yeah.
part of the team. She's
Okay.
basically our admin person, which is
Yeah.
Melissa, that
Okay.
everybody sees on the page.
Yep, yep.
She used to be very doubtful and never used to believe in it. Took her along to a tour one night, and she literally got hooked on it, and now I can't stop her from going.
Yeah.
But I've got my sister. She's actually part of the team as well. My older sister Tanya, and she's one of our investigators.
Okay.
And then the rest of it is just basically made up of people we've met and that have got some good psychic gifts and stuff that come out and do things for us. But we've just said with psychic ability and stuff like that, it's another grey area that people think that they're just making stuff up.
Yeah.
I've actually given photos to people on our team of locations I've investigated 2 years before they come onto the team and asked them a question about it, and I've never publicised any information about it, and they've told me everything about the photo, and they've told me about the stuff that's happened at the location when I've never disclosed anything.
Oh, okay. So you never posted this photo on social and you just sent it. Okay.
Yep, I've sent it straight through and said, can you tell me anything about this? And
That's quite interesting.
To blow my mind, I've been told straight about information on it.
Is it quite abstract? I'm just curious. Like, is it a photo? Like, because if you took a picture of like Ipswich Library, you probably can tell it's
what it was a picture of a bar top, and it was just the top of the bar, so there was no indication of where the bar was at, or if it was in a pub that was still used, or anything like that. There was no sign in it. I sent the picture through, and the psychic on my team basically said to me, I'm picking up a female there, and I'm picking up an angry female. The thing with this was I was with Greg Hinks from River 94.9, who does the A-League soccer, presents soccer on that.
Yeah, yeah.
He was with us on an investigation. Hinksy
cool.
was standing there with me while we were having activity happen. He was actually recording it on his phone. A little bit of it went onto the radio, but not that section of what had happened. This team member didn't even know the name of the location, but gave me everything that was happening there at the time, which we never publicised. So it was pretty amazing that you could take all that from a picture.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I can't really explain that sort of stuff.
No, it's very odd. Like we've also got another team member that can look at a photo, or that'll actually message me weeks and weeks before I even know about a place I'm doing and tell me details about it. And I'll get a call off somebody to go in and do this location, and I've already been told 2 weeks prior that, hey, you're going to get a call to do this, this, and this, and this is what's going to happen in it. Which again is something that just blows my mind that somebody can actually do that.
Yeah. Do you mind like weighing in a little bit more on your sort of opinion and experience with psychics and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I used to think it was a load of hogwash. I used to think they were fake. The experience that I've had with them, I can't explain how a person can give you details about something that hasn't occurred, but then they can also tell you stuff about a location that you can't look up anywhere on like Wikipedia or anything like that, and they can tell you names, dates, and then you go and research history of a place and you've got the name and date and this occurred, but there's no way for that person to actually have found that information in.
Okay.
Yeah, but the psychic thing is well beyond me. I'm just simply technology, but it's. I have seen people out there that will fake stuff, like they'll look at your Facebook profile and take information off that and go, oh, your uncle passed away 2 years ago, and he wants to tell you that it was on your social media. So that's
That's a reason to have social media. No.
Yeah.
No. No. I can see, and obviously, like for some, there's definitely a financial incentive.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know if you can tell which is which, but
well, I have first-hand witnessed people tell stuff that no one else knows. Like me and my wife have had people actually, psychics, tell us stuff that we've never discussed with anyone in our life, and it's weird when they go, well, this, and this, and you're like, okay, how the hell would you know that when we're the only two that's ever spoke about this?
Yeah, that's I think I'll have to experience it. It's one of those things you have to experience it for yourself.
It is, but it's a lot of it too. You feel is baited conversation with some of them. It's when you sit with somebody and they tell you things without asking questions. That's when your mind's blown. But if you're sitting with somebody that's asking you questions about, have you had a family member die, were they male, what did they die of, and then they start going, oh no, I've got your family member David here who died of cancer, and you're like, well, I've pretty much told you that 10 minutes ago. So
that's great.
That's
So still on the psychics. I mean, it's just one of those things, I guess. Like many other things, people fake it.
and
that's people fake many things, and then there are people that are genuinely the real thing.
Yeah, and it's even like with the paranormal. Like there's people have been faking stuff with that for years. I mean, there's historic photos that were proven to be fakes through, I think, as we were talking about before we started recording, with double exposure. So,
certainly, photographs and
and that's why these days, with paranormal stuff these days, it's becoming, I guess you'd say, more and more normal, because when you think about it, just about everybody's got a smartphone.
Yeah.
So as soon as something happens, people pull their phone out and they start recording it. So I guess in a sense, that's why more people are open to paranormal stuff these days because we've all got means of recording stuff that's going on that we don't know about, like there's or that we can't explain.
Yeah, we're all sort of on an equal playing field.
Yeah,
It's not like, oh, back in the 90s, someone can afford a $1,000 camcorder.
Yeah. And these days, every business you walk into has got CCTV. That's why people pick stuff up on it and go, well, this is happening outside of ours, and we know for a fact there's nobody inside there, and you can see. So I think as we get more advanced in technology, is basically we're getting more and more evidence of the paranormal.
Yeah. Do you think Ouija boards, I don't know if you ever used them in your groups, but just sort of like your opinion, and do you think people misuse them? Because
it comes down from what I've been taught and from what I've seen, like we do use them. We'll actually ask people if they don't want to use it, to not use it.
Okay.
Basically, a Ouija board, when you think about it, was a game that was invented for people to play at home. It was a board game. I guess it comes down to your intent. If you're wishing for something bad to happen, or in your mind you keep thinking, oh gee, I'm going to walk out the road tomorrow and get hit by a bus, and you keep thinking that every single day of the week, eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah, very well could.
If you sit down in front of something and you wish, well, you keep thinking, oh great, something evil's going to come through this, I'm going to get possessed, that's going to tell me that's going to kill me, or the devil's going to come through on it. Your wishing intent. Basically, your intent is something bad's going to come through it. Generally, it will. To me, it's another thing I don't understand. I don't know how they work. A lot of people think that it's people pushing it and that. I've sat there while the whole board's actually spun around in front of me instead of a planchette, and that's like weird because you're sitting there with your finger on a planchette. And then the whole Ouija board spins rather than the planchette. So it's
Yeah. Okay.
But they're another thing I just can't explain. Like they generally, if somebody is going to push it, you can see them doing it. To me, as long as you take precautions and your intent's there to basically talk to something good or something friendly and you're respectful, that's what you're going to get back.
Okay.
And that's my whole concept with the paranormal. Like we don't haunt spirits. We talk to them how we'd like to be spoken to, and we find the dead are like the alive. If you're going to be an absolute arse to somebody, they're going to be one back to you. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, it's just like anything that's been adapted for paranormal investigation, radio, infrared, heat sensors. It's just another means for them to communicate through.
That's what we found, and it's just these days, like we're lucky enough to have people that invent stuff that someone else will come along and go, well, this was invented for this, like your FLIR heat cameras. They're invented to check mold and to check water leaks in houses, and then somebody's gone, hang on, I've just recorded a full bodied apparition moving on this, and it's showing me a temperature drop, and that's a person, but there's nothing there. But it's just the scientific study and the put through into what the equipment does, and then what it's actually used for and what we use it for. So it's I guess you could say it's, in a way, it's like medication. You use it for one thing, but you get something else from it. So people have basically worked out that the side effects of some of the stuff that they use in general day-to-day operations actually picks up paranormal activity.
That's yeah, and I want to sort of get at it because there's sort of a process around, or at least I feel like I see there's a process. You know, you have to welcome and you have to end the session. Do you think there's a risk of people not doing the correct routine?
There is. Generally, everything we do, and most of the people that are empaths and psychics and that have that ability, they'll tell you when you use a Ouija board, you're opening up a portal. Portals are basically like opening up a doorway and inviting people into your house. When you start messing around with paranormal stuff through, especially a Ouija board, if you don't open and close it properly, that's when some people run into problems. So yeah, there is a whole rigmarole that goes through it. Generally, we do a prayer before we do it.
Okay.
That's a white light blessing that we do before it as well.
Mhm.
And then when we close it, we do the same thing. I actually have people on my team that actually do this before every single tour, and they do it after it. So every guest that comes on our tours and that the stuff we do is not going to be any harm to anyone. It's not like they're going to go home and it's going to turn into the Exodus where they're climbing the ceiling and spewing green out of their mouth. Yeah.
That's yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, I've sort of just refrained from using one just out of, I don't know if it's paranoia that something could happen. I'm
Yeah.
just very skeptical about
Yeah.
everything, but just on the off chance that I get something latches onto me, I'll be like, oh great, now I've got this.
It depends if you've got someone there that knows how to use it properly and who knows how to open it and close it properly. It's perfectly safe.
Okay.
It's when it's just like anything. If you get in the car and you don't know how to drive and you do 100 on the highway, the odds are you're going to hurt yourself. So if
Yeah.
you know how to use a Ouija board and you've got someone there with you to use it, you're perfectly fine.
Okay.
But it's all a lot of the stuff, like especially with the paranormal, it's your intent. So if your intent's there for a good reason, and just for communication, you're going to be fine. If your intent's there for bad purposes or for other stuff, it's going to lead to all sorts of problems.
Okay. That's understandable. So right now, with, I don't know, do you think over time reports becoming more frequent or infrequent?
These days, I think, and as to what I was saying before, because of the availability of technology,
Yeah.
I think it's more common. Like people are more open to stuff these days as what they were 50 years ago.
Mhm.
With the way the world is at the moment with COVID and everything like that,
Yeah.
to me it's sort of amped things up a little bit. It's a little bit more common. Like you hear people talk about, I heard this noise, or I went into this place and I felt this cold breeze, but there was no window open.
Yeah.
It's sort of making it a little bit more and more common.
Okay. Do you think it's a matter of people being at home more in a place?
Possibly could be, because people are spending more time at places where they generally didn't spend that much time.
Yeah.
Other things are, like the energy that you put into a place can affect a place. Like poltergeist activity doesn't necessarily mean you've got a ghost in your house. What I found is poltergeist activity is actually created through a person and not a spirit. If a person's very negative, or they've had a lot of stuff that's happened to them, or if they're going through a lot of depressive stuff, they can actually make the activity occur in their house, and it's not paranormal at all. So,
it's not paranormal. It's just like they're projecting.
Sometimes
Yeah.
they can project energy into their own house, which will make the activity happen.
Oh, so it will actually manifest as paranormal activity?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So
Yep.
so like versus an already active place.
But basically, it doesn't have to be an active place. But
Yeah.
if you've got, say for argument's sake, if you went into a spot where there was a vicious murder, you didn't know you lived in that house, you started experiencing, as we all do, like financial loss.
Yeah.
That could help manifest activity that is happening, but it's not through a spirit, it's through your thought and what you're putting out there. So.
Okay. With your experience so far, do you think a large amount of the encounters that people have, are they neutral? The activity, is it always bad? Is it like?
No, some of the stuff that we've encountered, though, because you've got different sorts of hauntings. You've got You've got an intelligent haunting, you've got a residual haunting. Like your residual hauntings are just basically an event in time that replays itself. Sometimes you might go to a location that every day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon they hear footsteps down a walkway and there's nobody there. The theory of that is that's an event that's been etched in time and that just keeps replaying. So the footsteps you're hearing is of a past person that every day at 1 o'clock walk down that hallway.
Okay.
Some of the other stuff we do, like with your intelligent hauntings, is where we go into a location and you get responses. So you'll get a direct response through asking a question. What we find with that is that some of the hauntings can be people that are lost or they don't know they've passed, and they're still in an area. Some of the others can be like your residual energy where it's just playing over. Other things could be somebody's got an unfinished business or a message they wanted to pass on, or that was somebody's happy place. There's a theory that some spirits stay in a location because that's where they were happy. There's also the theory that suicide victims are in purgatory. Their purgatory might be the room where they committed suicide in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the stuff we do, we find positive interaction. Occasionally you might get negative stuff that'll come through. Like sometimes you might be doing a location and running an EVP and you'll have a growl come across. People go, oh my God, that's demonic. Sometimes it's not. Like even if you get scratched, which is an occurrence that happens when we're on investigations, that doesn't mean it's something evil. It means it's something trying to get your attention.
Okay.
Maybe the entity or the being that wanted to get your attention, that's the only way they can physically do it. They mightn't be able to talk through a spirit box, but they might be able to scratch you down the back.
Okay.
So it could just be their way of saying, hey, I'm here. Talk to me a bit more, or yes, I heard what you said.
Yeah.
But and again, it just sort of, it comes down to the location too. Like I find if you walk into a spot that's known to have horrible things happen at it, you're going to get horrible stuff that comes through. If you go into a spot where there were satanic rituals, you're going to get something evil that comes through to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's actually interesting to hear that you said it's good more often than not.
Yep.
I think people just tend to focus on
Yeah,
they're exciting,
yeah.
the negative experiences where someone's chased out of
And
the
I mean,
house.
everything we do, like I take all my equipment home. We've got 2 different Ouija boards that we use at tours.
Okay.
I've got young kids. They reckon young kids are susceptible to paranormal activity because their minds aren't fully developed like ours, and they reckon the innocence of children can see stuff we can't see.
Mm-hmm.
My kids have never complained of anything weird in my house.
And most people would, after hearing everything, might think it would be the one place
and you would expect that, but
bring things back.
we've nothing at all. I mean,
that's good.
We've never experienced anything, and I've seen some pretty wild stuff when we've done investigations, but never anything in my house.
Okay, that's a positive.
Yeah. But I mean, it's at the same time we all take protection with us when we do stuff. A lot of people on the team wear crystals. Crystals are a good protection.
Right.
Basically, anything you put your belief into, it could be a crucifix if you're highly religious that you put your beliefs into, that's your protection.
Okay.
And we find that's what basically most of the team use, and then that helps a lot as well with making sure nothing follows them home or they don't get attachments.
Okay. I'm sort of curious about orbs.
Yep.
Of course, like they're brought up all the time and they're very exciting. Like people get it on a picture.
Yep.
But just tell me your sort of stance on them and what you think.
One thing we don't put on our page is pictures of orbs. I have heaps.
Okay.
I've got heaps and heaps of pictures of orbs, and I know they're proper orbs. The reason I don't put them on there is because as soon as you do, and that's like everything else, everybody's an expert. you put a picture of an orb up and people will go, that's a dust particle. A dust particle, when you take a picture on your phone, will come up as a white blotch on it, or if somebody's moved too fast, it'll come up as a round circle. We've got a special developed camera, which is a full spectrum camera. So basically it shows, the easiest way to imagine it is imagine what a cat can see through its eyes.
Okay. Oh, right.
A cat sees different to what we do. Our sight will see this, where a cat's sight will see that. The colour that a cat will see is different to the colour that the human eye will. The full spectrum camera enhances that light that we can't see, and it puts it into a photo. So when you actually take a photo with a full spectrum camera, everything in it's pink. The whole photo comes out pink.
Okay.
It'll still show normal colours, but it'll be a pink tinge to it.
Yeah.
The reason we use this is because when you're using full spectrum light and you get an orb, it'll come up and look like a donut, and that's the easiest way to explain it.
Like it'll look like not just a ring with like an outline, but like a quite a thick donut shape.
It'll come up like a donut, and you'll actually see an energy around the outside of it. You'll see another energy inside the middle of it, and then you'll see like a spectrum of light inside of it as well. With a dust particle will come up as a pixelated white dot, and when you zoom into it, it might have like all little dots inside of it, and it'll all be the one constant colour. Where an orb is simply an orb; it's all different colours inside of it, and it's a ball of light. A lot of the time, when you use full spectrum cameras, if we're sitting in a room and one of us moves, you're going to create dust. No matter how clean the room is, it's going to show what looks like an orb, and that's where people get confused and go, I took a picture of this orb, and it's just a dust particle.
Okay.
That's why a lot of people argue the point that orbs aren't paranormal. I've seen and this is why we use CCTV cameras, I've seen what you'd refer to as an orb, a ball of light, come and do different things and move different ways. Bugs and dust will move certain ways, but when you get something that will shoot down to this corner and come up here and then go back there and then go across here and across there, and it's a white ball that gets larger and it disappears, it's a bit hard to say that it's a dust particle.
It probably wouldn't move in such a way. So it's a donut shape.
That's what I found. A lot of people will disagree with that.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people will say, no, it's not. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. I call them donuts because to me that's what they look like. It's a different. You can see different spectrals of light in it, and you can see its own energy.
Okay.
So it's got. We just recently actually put a post up on our page of an orb that was taken on the Queen Mary, which is a ship in America.
I saw that.
Yeah, and that's a proper orb. There is the gentleman that took that is right into paranormal investigating. He's done a lot of stuff in Australia and overseas, and we're actually very lucky to have him about to join our team.
Okay.
When he took that photo inside that ship, there's no other light contaminants. There's no flash, which you can see he hasn't used a flash on the camera. To me, that's a classic orb. When you zoom in, you'll see what I mean with the donutty shape, because you'll see the main colour, and you'll see another circle within that colour as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it all comes down to light reflection and stuff as well. That's why it's a heavily debated thing.
Yeah.
A lot of paranormal investigators, as soon as you mention orb, will just go, no, don't want to talk about it.
It might just like taint the subject, sort of just taint the credibility almost. I don't know.
It's one of them
it's
things
tough
because it's a thing that can be misinterpreted. Like people can go, well, there's a bug, but someone else will go, no, that's an orb, and then it'll be, no, I reckon it's dust, and then no, it's a bug, no, it's an orb. So it's
That's the cat's eye thing. I know. I spoke to a lady, Cheryl Gottschall, just earlier this week, and she said that sometimes when they were out watching for like UFO phenomena or just phenomena in the sky, they would use these retro reflectors, which is like she actually called it a cat's eye, they call it, and so it reflects every type of wavelength right back at the source.
Yep.
So that if something were to go over it, it's almost like it's just like a mirror, so that
it
looks
hitting the light that's reflecting back on it.
So with that camera that you have, is it a camera? Or
It's basically what it is.
Is it a brand that we know, or
the one we've got's a Sony camera?
Oh, it's a Sony.
Basically,
Okay.
if you take a camera apart,
Yeah.
there's a film over the lens inside the camera.
Mhm.
That is the infrared and spectrum filter in a camera. Once you remove that, you've got every bit of light,
Mhm.
even light you can't see on that colour scheme coming into the camera. So
Okay.
that gives you the ability to be able to see the light that you don't normally see. So,
That's that's really interesting.
yeah.
So someone modified it. Someone just had to take it out.
It's the camera's been specifically modified to be a full spectrum camera.
That's cool. Yeah. And so you can take video with it.
Yep.
In a full spectrum. Okay.
Yep.
Of course. Yeah. It's kind of like, did you ever hear, kind of off topic, but how Manet, how he had eye damage, the French artist? I think it was French. He had like eye damage, and they think like towards the end of his life, like if you look at his paintings, they started to get more, just like more chaotic almost, or like very vibrant, and like sort of more washy between the lines. Like there was less definition in the pictures, and I think it was because of certain layer on his eye which filtered. I don't really know the credibility, but there was an article on it that he could see UV light now, or it was interfering with his light. There was like a UV filter part of the eye. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, when they say cat's eye, then is that because like
that's
cats
how
can see?
how I describe it. Cause
okay.
If you look into mythology and you go right back to the Egyptian era, Egyptians believed cats were guardians of people. They believed that cats see spirits because they see stuff through full spectrum, so they can see what we don't. That's why people believe that when a cat sits in a room and stares into a corner and meows for no reason, that there could possibly be a spirit there because the cat's picking up on the spirit. A lot of times when there is paranormal activity and there's a cat present, and even a dog, it won't go near that area. I mean, I've heard, I know of attack dogs that won't go into certain areas in prisons because that's where they used to hang people. The dog will quiver, and this is a full attack dog, and it won't go there, and the handler can pull it as much as they want, but that dog won't go into that corner because it's picking up on energies or something that we can't, that's there, and it wants no part of it.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
So what do you think about seances? I mean, it's just sort of
never done one.
Yeah. Okay.
That's again
something
I don't know how they work. I purely do
investigations
and stuff like that. There is people on my team that do them. We do like a energy circle thing sometimes, where you all stand around in a circle and you basically close your eyes, you hold a person beside your hand and the other person beside your hand, and you focus on energy flowing around. Sometimes you get weird feelings in your fingers. That could just be because your train of thoughts thinking, I can feel energy coming around. That's the same as a seance. A seance is done with your candles and that, releasing energy and allowing spirits to talk through anybody in the room. But yeah, to me, that's something I wouldn't do because that's basically saying anybody here use me to talk. That's allowing an entity to come into your body to communicate through your body. I don't understand it, so I just
probably the last thing that you want if you just want to get introduced to things.
Yeah. But there is a lot of people out there that do them, and they do them quite well. They know all about them. There's the one thing I've found out, especially in the paranormal field, you meet a lot of interesting people. Like I've met people that are witches that practice witchcraft.
Okay.
It's not what you think, where they're getting around with black cats and flying on rooms and things like that. But I've I've seen them do very strange stuff, and also give answers to things that they shouldn't know. Yeah, it's odd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's sort of, well, they have some sort of psychic component to them.
I think some of them do.
Yeah.
I've also seen people do rituals, like protection rituals and cord cutting stuff and out of body experience.
Cord cutting?
things. Yeah.
Sorry, what was that, like a birth thing?
No, it's basically if you've got an attachment, or they reckon that people are joined by a cord. So if say if you're married for 40 years and then all of a sudden you get divorced, you can go have a witch's cord cutting ceremony where apparently they separate you two because you become one with the person you're with, and it's it sounds strange, but that's
No, I'm sure some people
it's in that
could
scope
do
of
with
stuff.
that.
But yeah,
That's that's interesting.
yeah.
Do you think I'll sort of come to the sort of wrap it up, so I don't want to keep you too long, but your experience with all of this.
Yep.
I mean, I've never, unfortunately, experienced anything. Of course, I'd be open to something. But how has it changed your perception on things? Because I can only imagine, I don't know, like you think, what is there when we pass away, or are you more relaxed, or are you still very skeptical on things?
I'm in two worlds. I like to think as myself as a logical thinker. If something occurs, I'll always try and figure out why it occurred and how it occurred and what caused it to occur. I also consider myself to be, I'm religious, but I'm not religious. I believe there is something there. I couldn't tell you if there's a heaven or if there's a hell. I believe when you die, there's something after it. It's like and the easiest way I think of it is it's like when you've got a car and you drive your car for years and years and years and years, and then your battery dies. Where's the energy from your battery gone? It goes into the atmosphere. The human body's made up of energy. It's been proven that we work on static electricity and that we work on electromagnetic fields through our body. What happens to your brainwave energy when you die? It goes into the environment. Maybe that's where we get spirits from. Maybe that's what happens when we pass away. People talk about out-of-body experiences where they've seen their death and they've come back, and then they've come back to life and they remember seeing themselves on the operating table. It's just one of them things. I believe in it, but I don't believe in it. But if you think back to Einstein's theory, energy goes back to being energy. So basically, for every reaction, there's another equal reaction. So when our energy finishes inside of us, as the human body's like a machine, like a car, where's that energy going when it's finished? So when that battery stops, where all the energy from the battery goes somewhere. So, if that makes sense. Sorry.
No, that's really interesting. Do you think everyone is capable of experiencing something if you bring them to the right location? And
I would like to think so.
Yeah.
I've had people come on our tours that have been skeptics that, no, this is all hogwash. I don't believe in this stuff. And then at the end of the night, they've turned around to me and went, oh my God, why is that thing saying my name? I've also we've had tours where we've had not much activity happen because we've had people there that have been very anti, I don't believe in this and this is a waste of time, why did I come here? My thing is if you don't like AFL, you're not going to go sit there for an hour and a half and watch a game of AFL, so why go on a ghost tour if you're not going to be open to the possibility that there could be something there? So,
okay. So, like you were saying in the beginning, you have to be willing to experience and acknowledge their presence in order to...
I believe so. I think if you acknowledge that, yes, there's something that can happen that we can't explain, that opens up that thought pattern to that occurring. I think that enhances it. But if you go in and go, well, no, there's no such thing as this, or this isn't going to happen, and blah blah blah, it's going to it's basically going to make your night not happen and stuff like that. But I mean, I look at it as the same as religion. I mean, a lot of people, there's different religions. They all basically have a God. People believe in that God. It's a higher spirit. When you go back through all sorts of ages, and you go back through all sorts of different races, different religions, different races believe more in spiritual stuff than other races. So when you weigh all that up, it sort of indicates that yes, there possibly is an afterlife. And you have a look at Japanese. In their culture, they believe heavily in spirits. You look at in Thailand, once a year they dig up their dead relatives and they change their clothes and bathe them and have the whole day with them and then put them back into their grave.
Well, I had no idea about that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a bit.
Yeah, that's a bit extreme. But
That's so interesting. But I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. That's another conversation. But.
Yeah. So I guess I do. I believe there is. Some of the stuff I've seen and some of the evidence we've got has indicated there is. We get responses to questions. We see stuff that happens where there's no one there. Our whole theory is to try and see. Well, I guess if you look at our slogan, seeking the truth, we try to find out if there is a truth about the afterlife and why it does occur. So, yeah, I do believe there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I'll wrap it up.
Yep.
So it's been great. Thank you so much, Dwayne, for coming on. And everyone, please go and check out Pariah Paranormal. I have their Facebook link and website link in the description below. And it's been so fantastic having you on here. I can't say how thankful I am.
Yep.
And you've been a great guest, and thanks for helping me out when it's just starting. So
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's been so interesting. Hopefully I'll come on a tour.
Yep.
And then maybe
might have a bit of evidence.
There's so much I'd still like to ask you, but I mean,
Yep.
you have a life to get back to, so I'll let you go. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you.